Welcome to the P Potential Success Show. My name is Fong, and today we have another great guest. I was very fortunate and also very honored to be on her show recently, and we had a blast, and I can't wait to have her here today, and very excited to have her here today as well. She's been highly recommended by a lot of individuals who she's helped really create a better portfolio in the real estate. In fact, she's been helping a lot of investors, whether they are just starting out or are seasoned experts, really get the most out of their investments. She's been providing tips and strategies in buying, selling, renovations, and also securing capital. Also giving strategies on long-term wealth creation and life-changing deals. So please welcome property investor, advisor, developer, and host of the Property Portfolio Podcast, Ms. Lauren Jessica.
Thank you so much, Fong. It's absolute pleasure to be here. What an amazing intro. Thank you.
Awesome. Well,
I'm
thanks a lot for
blushing.
being here. Always joy speaking with you and also hearing you share your stories. And you add so much value to the audiences that are listening to you because you have so much expertise in that field of real estate investing and building a portfolio. So, starting off, my first question for you is how did you become this individual who's been able to create such a great portfolio, such a great expertise in real estate?
Thanks. That's a really good question. I think the reality is like when you just have so much passion and enthusiasm and just love for like learning and growing and being in something that you're just really inspired by, I think that's how you become so good at what you do. So, and some people might disagree that passion shouldn't be where you're at in success, but for me personally, I just find that contributes to my drive and my motivation to keep going no matter what roadblocks I hit. And so obviously didn't start out my journey in property. I did start a little bit later in life, which, some people obviously begin. But I think the concept did really start for me from an early age, but I was a little bit slower to implement that. So I think that first little idea of property and what that could do for myself and other people came to mind around like I don't know, sort of teenage, like early 20 years. And then it just really built from there. So, yeah.
That is awesome because like most of the people at that time is like, oh, where can we go and have some fun? Where to vacation? Then let's go to the mall. And you're talking about property. What was it
Yeah.
at that time that sparked your interest in real estate then?
Um, I think just around me, I saw a lot of successful people that were in property, and it just sparked my interest. Like I said, I mean, I found it really intriguing the way that people could do renovations and gain uplift in the property, building that equity, and just really getting that step ahead. So, and I like the kind of idea of taking something and just, I guess it's what women do really. I like what you give a woman, she'll give you back tenfold. So like you give her some food, she'll make a meal. You give her a house, she'll make it a home. So I think for me, I am just a very creative person. And so looking at the different ways that I can improve something, make it better, add value, yeah, that's just interesting to me. And obviously building wealth at the same time, well, that's a win-win, isn't it?
So during those early years, were you able to convince others to kind of join your journey? Because I'm sure a lot of people are like, why are you spending time on this now? You have your entire life ahead of you, and you spend some time having fun, blah, blah, blah. But you're doing all this stuff, and I'm assuming you're gonna be telling people, no, think about it this way and all that. Have you been able to bring anybody along with you?
I think in those kind of times, it is more challenging, like to convince other people, like you said. I mean, they're really just focused on having fun, partying, and doing all of that. And while at that age, you maybe do a little bit of that. I was definitely someone who was doing less and more focused on my goals and my purpose and how I can give back to the world. So, and how I can just add value to other people. Because I think, yeah, it's really just about aligning yourself with the right people who are open to something a little bit different, a little bit creative. And so, yeah, I think you're not necessarily going to get other people or everyone on board,
Mhm.
but I think the people that align with you will join you on that journey.
How long did it take for you to start having people turn their heads? and goes, wait a minute, maybe she's onto something. Was it fairly early that you showed a lot of success?
Yeah, I mean, I think like everybody's idea of success is very different. I think when people think of success, they always focus on monetary, but for me, success is more that the value that you add to other people. So while necessarily like financially like success in my personal situation was a little bit more delayed, I think the value and the wealth that you add for other people in their success, I think is where, and I mean not just financially, but I think giving them the tools and the strategies that they need to improve their situation or to better themselves in terms of how they can get ahead and build that momentum faster. So yeah, I don't think there's a straight answer for that. Like it's yeah, it's a windy road.
Take us through your very first deal, the deal that solidified in your mind as this is my starting point and this is gonna work.
Um, Look, I don't think anybody starts off with the perfect deal. Like
Mm.
the reality is when you're in the beginning, you're learning, you're growing, and you make mistakes. But I think that's the best way to grow. So, like my very first deal, I purchased a property in regional Victoria. It was quite a decent sized block and I did a really cosmetic renovation to it, nothing too amazing. And then I was able to turn that over and get about 150K profit from that. So, you know, at the end of the day, there was probably more that I could have done to that property. And I think if I had more development experience back then, I could have gained more. Like it actually was a very decent block corner. It could have been split. It could have been developed into either like land sub or potentially a couple of townhouses. But back then, I was more focused on renovations and turning over property. So yeah, I mean, while it wasn't the most profit, I think the reality is that each property and each deal that you go through, you learn, you grow, you improve, and then you just build on that success, right?
For a first deal where you turn it over for $150,000 profit, that is like most people's dream first deal. Was there something that you did that kind of solidified that it will work? Did you have people around you? Were you able to bounce ideas off of people? Like how did you have the confidence that that first deal was going to go through and work out for you? Or was it kind of like, ooh, it worked?
Well, like I said, I mean, in the beginning, you kind of don't always know what's going to work. You just sometimes have a go. And like, I think the in the beginning, I didn't 100% know, if I'm being completely honest. It was a little bit of a fluke. But I knew that I suppose the positive was in that property, there was a really good rental yield. So I did hold it for a period of time and I was able to get a positive return on that property. So it paid for itself for the period that I held it. And then when I did turn over the property, I think the reality was that there was a combination of capital growth, there was a combination of demand. It was post COVID when I sold that property, actually. I did hold it for quite a time. And that was yeah, the reality is like sometimes you know what's going to happen and sometimes you don't. But from that, you learn how to build a blueprint and have a better strategy moving forward.
So I'm going to ask you this. Take yourself back to the time where you secured that first deal, okay? And somebody asks that Lauren, how do I start in real estate? And then you have another person asking current day Lauren, how do I start in real estate? What would you say in both cases?
I think like the really important things to note when you are doing real estate is like you were just asking me then, who did I lean on? Who are the people in my circle that I really focused on gaining like knowledge and support from? I think that's a huge thing. Like who you surround yourself with, the people who have those skills that maybe you're missing are really vital to your success. And I think that not only that, but just constantly focusing on building, growing, being consistent, and really finding those people that already have succeeded. Like that can help you to get there, because sometimes we can't do it on our own straight away. And it does take that support from your network and the right people. And also, I think now as well, as I've moved forward, the other standout thing is having a coach. I think having a coach that supports you and helps to bounce ideas off, I think that's really valuable. Someone who has done what you've done as well, like I mentioned, not just peers. And yeah, they can contribute to help you build success, which is something that I didn't do until later in life. So I think probably a big lesson for me is find a coach earlier, find those networks of those people that are doing what you want to do, be are at where you want to be, and that will accelerate your success and your growth much faster.
Totally agree with that. I think coaching is so important when it comes to just avoiding certain pitfalls or certain ups and downs and unknowns when it comes to real estate, especially because everybody thinks they can do real estate when they are in it, and all of a sudden, wait a minute, what do I do here? Or what happens if this happens? And what do I do if this happens? And all that kind of stuff. They start questioning themselves, and then eventually it falls through or whatnot. So, having said that, in real estate, not everything is happily positive, and not everything always works out your way. And not every deal is a positive $150,000 cash and all that kind of stuff. So share with us some of those pitfalls, some of those pitfalls that could have been avoided if you had a coach at that time.
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think even on that specific deal, for example, I can go back to a challenge that I had. So, when I was doing the bit of the renovations, the something that came back when I was doing renovations in the bathroom laundry area was that we kind of pulled the tiles up and realized that there were termites. Now, there's obviously a difference between active and inactive termites. So you obviously have to get the right people to check it, to verify what the situation is. And yeah, that can be challenging because it does blow out your budget. It changes. So initially, when I was doing that, I had a certain budget that I was working on. And then from there, it obviously increases. So you really got to have that contingency in place so that you know, okay, well, this is what I'm going to spend. But then if something goes wrong, I need to have an extra 5-10% contingency in case there are some challenges or some delays or you hit a bit of a road bump. So I obviously had that buffer in there, and I was able to just cover that extra cost for the delay, for the extra trades to assess it. And then, we just move forward and finish that off. So yeah, I think just contingency is the biggest thing, just having that extra allowance for any challenges that come up, because it's likely that there will be challenges. I think it's pretty low volume, if you go through a project or if you go through something where nothing goes wrong, it's like it's like, wow, okay.
Yeah,
Waiting for to challenge you.
yeah, and it's funny when I speak with some investors or some people who are just starting out or think about going in there, and they paint this beautiful picture how everything goes smoothly. It's like, yeah, that's not gonna happen. Yeah, that's not gonna happen either. You probably have to put this factor in there and have this contingency just to, and if it doesn't happen, bonus, great. You've
Yeah.
accounted for it, right? It goes back into your pocket. You mentioned before about having the right people around you, and then the thing is, eventually people run out of money. And for somebody to get to your level of success, you scaled, you were able to really build more and more and more, have the developments and more property and bigger projects and whatnot. How are you able to secure that type of capital and that type of relationships in order for you to do projects like that?
I think the reality is that it's really important building relationships with people. I think that's the core of how you can scale your success faster, because like you said, you run out of capital, the bank will only lend you so much, and the reality is that private money lenders or, other avenues of funding are what are needed to be able to scale. And so yeah, I obviously have built a community of people through networking, through just having conversations, asking questions. And really being curious about, okay, well, what is your criteria if you were to take on a development, for example, if it's like I'm putting a deal together and then I'm on selling it as a short option, or if I'm going to do the development myself, then do I focus on just finding the finance? Obviously, there's a lot of complexity with development finance. Um, there's really obviously different elements depending on the project that you're doing. And so I think just setting out like who are those people that you need to connect with, how are that how are they going to contribute to your project? So say for example, if you're looking at a renovation project that you're doing a flip, you obviously need to think about all of the different trades and services that you're going to have to take on board for that property. Then you need to obviously run your numbers, you need to do your feasibility, all of those sorts of things. And then you go, okay, how am I going to fund this project? Depending on, I mean, if you just need money for the renovation or if you actually need money for the purchase, like you have to assess all of these things based on the individual project. So again, it's different with developments. If you're just going to put the property under a contract and then on sell it to another developer because you just want the short cash, or if you're going to develop it yourself, where are you going to gain that commercial construction finance from, and what do you need? So I sort of gone a little bit off track around like the relationships, but essentially it comes down to what is your project, who do you need on your team, and maybe that financial support can come from people that you know that are either in the industry or maybe they're not. They might be somebody in a different industry. So really just stepping out what you need, what kind of people you need on your team. And then in terms of finance, I think it comes down to, okay, what kind of money do people have if they're money lenders? I mean, you have that conversation. What kind of project are you looking to fund? What kind of time frame are you looking for return? What is your ROI? Is it annualized? Is it set? I mean, there's so many different questions that you can ask when you're connecting with people that can contribute to the success of your project. So, yeah, coming back to building relationships and just really nurturing those connections. And I suppose I'll give an example. At the moment, I'm working on um, a couple of deals that I'm not going to develop myself. I'm looking to secure the deal. I've spoken to my town planner, so I'm getting the professional advice from that perspective. Okay, what is the property zoned for? So I'm leaning on that relationship with my town planner to give me the support on so that I don't have to do that research on that specific town plan. What is this property zoned for and what can it be developed? So then I reverse engineer it and I can go, okay, well, what can I then pay for that property when I approach the owner and negotiate to secure that deal? And then I know what my margins are after I've also run a feasibility because I know what can go on that property. I know what the end value is going to be, like the GRV, the net realization, and then I reverse engineer that and I decide, okay, I need to pay, say, or I can pay up to say 1.8 million, for example, for that project, and I'm going to do townhouses on there. Okay, so I'll negotiate with that owner. I want to put this property um, under delayed settlement. And then obviously it depends on what that person needs, but you really focus obviously on building those relationships. So understanding what people's needs are helps you to essentially put your projects together. That was a bit of a long-winded version, but you know what I mean.
No, that's great. I mean, it really highlights how important building relationships are because, like you said, eventually people run out of money and you're going to have to partner up with somebody else, or you need to connect with another group of people to see what ideas can come up with regards to creative financing and whatnot. Now, as you go up in different types of properties, different types of deals, bigger, wider developments, and all kinds of stuff, there's always a first for everything. You're always like a rookie at this level, and then a rookie at this level, and a rookie at that level. And when people
Yeah.
first start out, one of the challenging aspects of them trying to secure capital is people saying you don't have experience in this. Like if you're doing their very first deal and they're looking for a property investor and money partner, well, they go, yeah, the numbers look great, but you don't have experience in this. Then they
Mm.
get to the level where they're going to be doing commercial, and yeah, but you don't have experience in this. So how did you counteract that?
I think it is obviously a real challenge that when you have less experience, people might look at you as if, oh, well, why should I invest in you? But I think it really just comes down to your ability to um, counteract and really assess those objections. So if somebody's saying, oh, well, I'm not sure if I want to fund your deal, like you don't have an experience in this, well, then I would be questioning, okay, are you serious about doing a deal? Like, of course, there's going to be risks. When you're looking at deals like this, if you're looking to fund a deal and you're wanting to gain a return with your capital, I'd be questioning, well, are you trying to do a risk-free deal because you want the benefits and you want the funding return, but you're not willing to put the risks in? Well, why are you doing this type of deal then? Like if you want a safe deal, then maybe you should go put your money into like a term deposit and like just get a return or like put it in stocks, which maybe is not as risk averse. But the reality is that if you're wanting to be a money partner and fund deals, no matter how secure that deal is, there is going to be risk. So I would be putting it back onto that person and saying, okay, well, if you're not willing to take on any risk, maybe you shouldn't be funding deals like this. The reality is everybody starts somewhere. And I think it's the other part of it, I think too, is that when you show confidence, when you know what you're talking about, you can explain how you got your numbers, you can explain how the project's going to work, you've put your contingencies in place. I think it's really a no-brainer. I mean, yeah, the market can move and things can change, but also, I mean, really just coming down to what is the project, I suppose, because for example, if you've got comparables for like properties that are already sold in that area, I mean, there's, there's contingencies there, there's risk that's averse, and you always have that contingency in place as well. So I think, yeah, at the end of the day, just be confident, go in there, show what you know, and eventually someone will give you a chance because at the end of the day, people will actually invest in people and less in the deals.
And I think it also goes towards the fact that uh, no matter it depends on how confident you are. If you've done the numbers, if you've done your contingencies, your due diligence, and you're confident what you have, eventually there's enough people who would like to do a deal with you. And if this person doesn't do it and doesn't understand it or doesn't want to take the risk, somebody else would because they understand what you've gone through. They understand all the numbers that you've looked at, and you wouldn't have a shortage of potential joint ventures or partners. At what stage would you start questioning whether or not you have the right deal or the right numbers? Because if more and more people starts to go, hey, this isn't right for them, do you revisit what you've looked at, or are you going to be firm on what you've done?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always room for improvement. If there's perspective coming from someone who's experienced and they've done a lot in what you're less experienced in, then of course you're going to take on their perspective, their opinion, and readjust things where necessary. Like if you're referring to less experienced person, I think, yeah, I mean, there's always room for improvement and growth, right? So while it's like great to be confident in what you're doing, it's also great to take on that feedback
Mhm,
and see where maybe you can make some adjustments.
mhm. Early on, you talked about how success is different for everybody. People define success differently in their life or from their perspective. From your perspective, what would you define a life-changing deal as?
A life-changing deal. I don't know if I've got one yet. So when I let you know, when I do, I'll let you know. But no, I think at the end of the day, the reality is that what people's desires and needs are very different. So for each individual person, that can look vastly different. I mean, for some people, it might just be like making 150, 250,000 profit on like a Reno flip. Or for somebody else, depending on what their goals are, where they want to be, what they want to achieve in life, it might be like $1 million development deal. So yeah, there's really not one answer to that. I think it's just all dependent on the individual person, what they want for their life, and how they want that to look. And I think that's really something that's important to towards people who are quite high level in their success. I think focusing on what are your goals, why are you doing what you're doing, and keep reminding yourself of that constantly each day, focusing on what your input is, because putting into that each day and being consistent and being focused and being driven, I think that's where that consistency and that hard work will eventually pay off. And so whether it is like when you say a life-changing deal, I mean, it's really, like I said, dependent on that person. I mean, for some people, it could be $1 million deal. It could be a $10 million deal. I think, yeah, there's really no set. It's all, yeah, personal, I think.
Now, when we talk about real estate, people are talking about what should we start on first? I've talked to people who have jumped right into luxury homes. I've talked to people who goes, oh, their first deal was an eightplex or a 16-plex. You have experience in full like magnitude of different types of properties, from commercial to single family to plexes and whatnot. What would you say is the easiest or recommended for people to jump into first? Is it going with the bigger stuff first or the smaller stuff first?
I think it's better to start small, to be honest. And I think it's better to start with the simplified, like the basic stuff. I mean, to lower the risk, to limit the chance of losing money, or obviously in the beginning, maybe you're not running your numbers properly, or maybe you're not 100% confident on what's the end sale, or what is the like the retail price going to be. I think at the end of the day, yeah, there's comps that you can do, but it doesn't guarantee everything, which is why that contingency is really important. So focusing on smaller deals, I think, like depending on where you are, some people obviously do them remotely as well. Not everybody is open to that kind of risk because it does pose additional challenges. But I think just focus in your local area close to you so that it's accessible to begin with. I think also working on something that's just, some people might start off with purchasing a property and just something that's got some uplift, for example, doing a cosmetic reno themselves and then on selling. So something simple like that if you're talking about a flip, for example, or if you're looking at a development like a 1 into 2 subdivision, and you can even simplify it by just splitting the land and selling off the subdivision like the other property. There's so many different ways to do it. I mean, you can do a 1 into 4, like there's lots of different options, but I think focusing on residential to begin with and smaller deals are the most effective way to just build your appetite slowly.
As we mentioned before, when it comes to real estate, nothing runs smoothly. In fact, usually something happens and fires need to be put out. So for somebody who's so involved with that space, how do you keep a calm mentality? How do you deal with the fires that come on a daily basis? Like, what's your strategy of okay, assessment and action and all kinds of stuff without going, this sucks. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it just really, I probably don't share this a lot, but I do focus a lot on personal growth in terms of, like, I just try to come back to my breath. I try to recenter myself when challenges come up. And I think it really just comes down to, okay, well, you can focus on the problem, but the reality is, okay, how can I focus on the solution and how can we fix this? Because you can't change the problem, but you can change the outcome. So I think just really focusing on that. Who do I need to speak to fix this? Who do I need to contact, or what do I need to look at? how is this going to be resolved? I think at the end of the day, just leaning on your resources, leaning on the people around you, and finding a solution. I think, yeah, the reality is things go wrong. And sometimes you do have to be creative in solving problems, which yeah, is just the reality of life, isn't it? Even if we focus away from property, for example, in personal life, that happens as well. And so I think that's where just having that resilience, having that constant way of dealing with stress and challenges. I really like to, for example, get out into nature when I feel challenged or things are a little bit intense for me. I really like to connect and feel grounded. So that's one of the strategies that I'll do before I address something that feels like, oh, this is a problem. Um, so I think really having those tools and strategies to utilize when those challenges come up really help to then, okay, now I've regrouped, now I've realigned, I've refocused, I've done what I need to do to kind of get back into that zone. And then how can I now solve the problem? Who do I need to speak to? What do I need to do to get it done?
Awesome. And I like how you mentioned that you go out for a walk and get in tune with nature. It's something I think a lot of people should do on a daily basis. Find a way to get yourself calm, find a way to get yourself in tune with yourself so that when things do happen, you can kind of grab onto that one moment and bring yourself into that calm mode again. And it's a daily routine or daily exercise that you could test yourself on, right? So um
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also music as well. Like I'm a very musical person. It's been my background, it's in my family. And so just really like I often go to that, okay, I need some music that's just going to regroup and help me. Yeah. So obviously normally when I do a walk or exercise, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm mind feeding, I'm doing all of that stuff. But in those moments where there's challenges, I think just allowing yourself to have those tools and strategies that realign you and regroup. So yeah, music is one of those things for me as well.
Awesome. Speaking of podcasts, you yourself have a podcast show that you host. How did that come about? And also all the speaking stuff, all these like the podcast stuff, the interview stuff. How did you decide that that's something that you needed to do?
That's a good question. And to be honest, I can't take credit for that. I have to give credit to my coach. And that was something that he kept drumming in to me in terms of, okay, look, you you want to build more connections, you want to get like more successful relationships that you can lean on that maybe you're going to do deals with, maybe you're going to work with in the future, or just have it like as a connection for maybe down the road when something could come up. So I think, yeah, it really just came about that. I mean, I suppose it's twofold. So my coach encouraged, obviously, the podcast to build relationships and connect with people broader in the industry, in the community. But I think if I'm being honest, I've always been a little bit of a performer. It's something that from when I was a very young age, I started performing on stage, dancing, and I've actually been a singer as well. I used to do singing gigs and dance performances. So I think that creativity and that stage presence has kind of always been a part of me since I was young. And so I think what I'm able to do is then take that experience from my performing arts side and then implement it to the podcast in the way that I interview and speak with people and share and ask questions and yeah, just all of that. So yeah, kind of twofold.
Very, very cool. Do you find that that mindset or that mentality from a performer's mentality helped you in your business results as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's an element of being a performer where there's obviously backstage and then there's on stage. And I think it's not so much like putting on a character for me. It's more like I get to be my full self, like let my energy out, show my character, my personality, and just really be out there and be who I am because I love um, yeah, I just love connecting with people. I love being able to, I think like dancing and that sort of thing, creative arts, being able to put on a show for somebody and they really love it, they enjoy it, they engage with it, they find it fun and exciting, and it kind of takes them away to another place. If you think about when you go to any type of performance or show, whether it's like circus, whether it's dancing, whether it's like a music performance, I think it allows people to just kind of go to another place, yeah, and just connect and pull them away from the reality of whether it's challenges or life in general. It lifts people up, it makes them feel happy. And so I think that's where I just bring that energy from that experience to interviews and podcasts. And yeah, that mindset definitely intertwines
Yeah.
between the two. I just love to give back to people.
I find that the biggest mindset difference when it comes to performers and non-performers is you mentioned that you're performing, right? And you know that once the camera's on, you're on, right? I was speaking, I forget who I was. It was a investor's call or something, and this person during the entire time on camera was just like, but then once it's their turn to speak, they're like, oh, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, wait a minute, that's not professional. Like you show
Yeah,
no respect at the beginning, but once it's your turn, you think you're on. No, you're on the whole time. And if you're a
yeah.
performer, you know that once you're on camera, you're on the entire time, and that professionalism shows. And that's something I totally notice from you is like once you're on, you're on. And it doesn't matter if you're speaking, if you're not speaking, you are on and you're presentable and you're professional. So I think that's a big difference between people who have that performance background and not having that background.
Yeah, yeah, I really appreciate that. And that's interesting you're saying that because I felt the same when I was doing my interview with you on my show, the Property Portfolio podcast. And yeah, I think you either really have that energy and that ability to be professional and show up, or I mean, look, some people can I think develop it, but it is much more challenging. I think if it's not natural, it is a lot longer to kind of build
Mhm.
that and get to the point where you can go, oh, okay. But actually, I remember you talking about how you were very shy on my podcast and you did have challenges with speaking up in public and stuff. So you're a perfect example of how you can actually build that level of performance and mindset if you really want to. Because I think
It,
at the end of the day, it is a choice. Yeah, if you
mhm.
want to just kind of, oh, yeah. But if you want to add value to people, if you want to be successful, if you want to connect with other people, you have to be considerate of,
Mhm.
like you said, not just ignoring other people when it's their turn and then just being available when it's your turn to shine. It's
Exactly.
really
No.
about supporting and what you can add value to other people, which yeah, just comes from experience, I think.
Well, thanks for noticing that. Much appreciated. Moving forward, having done so much and achieved so much already, what's your next big thing? What are you looking to either build, develop? What kind of people are you looking to connect with? What's the best way for people to reach out to you who has either those connections or those skill sets or are looking for that type of connection?
Yeah, great question. So I think for me, I just want to continue growing, continue giving back. Like I really want to make a big impact we obviously have a significant housing crisis. So I'm really just focusing on a large portion of my time on looking for acquiring properties that I can develop for, people to live in. The reality is, I think we're about over 200,000 behind the government's achievement for 2030, the volume of homes that they want to build. So I think it's Australia wide. We're so far behind. I really want to contribute to that and give people homes. And obviously, with my buyer's representative side of my business as well, I obviously like to help people either find a home for themselves or if they looking to add to their portfolio in terms of an investment. So I think it's really twofold. I just love giving back to people and adding value. So for people to connect with me, I obviously am on all social media like Facebook, Instagram under Lauren Jessica. And then obviously I've got my website, precisionpropertypartners.com.au. And then I think like if anybody has any questions or if they want to like fund any of my deals or if they maybe just want to connect, and yeah, I think there's obviously lots of different options. Maybe they're looking to build their property portfolio. Yeah, please reach out to me. And yeah, I'm happy to also give consultation advice as well, which I have done for people in the past. You know, maybe they've got a property and they don't know what they can develop it into or what they can do with it. So yeah, absolutely reach out and I'd be happy to connect.
Awesome. Speaking of advice, what's your final, let's say, life advice or mic drop moment advice that you could give for us right now?
That's a great question. I also forgot to mention my podcast as well, the Property Portfolio Podcast. Don't forget to follow and like and share that. There's lots of great tips, like Fong's interview where he shared. But yeah, final advice. I think at the end of the day, if you don't give it a chance, if you don't just take the leap, you'll always be wondering. And the reality is that there's a way for people to gain advice if they need it. There's a way for people to get success, but just surround yourself with the right people, have a go, don't give up. The biggest thing is that people hit challenges and then they start to snowball and go, oh, you know, the tall poppy syndrome. I can't do this. Oh, I'm not sure. Like, I'm not sure. Like, what do I do from here? I've hit a road bump. So I think just be consistent, be persistent, and it will eventually will land.
Awesome. Mic dropped. Uh, be before I let you go, I got five quick rapid fire questions. Give me the first thing that comes to mind.
Oh
All right.
gosh.
So you're stranded on the deserted island, one food to eat for the rest of your life, no consequence. You'll still be healthy and fit.
One food. I don't know. Maybe ice cream.
Good choice. I love it. Hollywood calls and goes, "Hey, Lauren, we loved your story. Very inspirational. We would love to do a biopic of you. Who would you cast to play you?"
I think, oh, what's that? Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie shows up at your door and goes, "Hey, Lauren, the guy cast to play you. Let's hang out. Let's have some fun. What does that night look like?"
Oh my gosh. Karaoke, dancing, crazy costumes, outfits, and yeah, I don't know.
Sounds like a lot of fun. Lots of performing. Uh,
Yeah.
you're on a road trip and in your car, and for some reason there's only one song that plays on repeat. What's that song that plays on hours and hours and hours?
Oh, I'm gonna have a little sentimental moment here and say there's a Janet Jackson song that my mum and I used to dance in the lounge room to everywhere you go, and it's actually tattooed on my shoulder because my mum was my best friend, and she's obviously since passed a long time ago. So yeah, that would be my song.
Would you be willing to share a bar?
Sorry.
Would you be willing to share a bar of that song or a
Share a bar of
phrase
that
or
song. Oh, gosh, on the spot. I could if you would like me
Oh
to.
yeah. I'm always willing to let people sing if they're willing to.
Oh my gosh. Okay, no pressure. So the chorus goes something like, everywhere I go, every smile I see, I know you are there, smiling back at me, dancing in moonlight. I know you are free, 'cause I can see your star shining down on me.
Nicely done. That's more than one bar, so thank you.
Sorry, I just got
Awesome.
into it and
I
I
know.
just
I'm like, I was just gonna leave and let you keep on singing. So nicely done. And then final
mic
thing
drop.
is, give me a number from 1 to 3.
1 to 3. Oh, I like even numbers, so I'm gonna have to say two.
1, 2. So the word is darts. Okay.
Darts. Okay.
If you were to use darts as a metaphor for success, How is success like darts?
Um, well, I think at the end of the day, you aim for your target, and the reality is sometimes you're not going to hit the center. Sometimes you're going to hit other areas outside that main target, but the reality is you got number of darts in that game and you just keep throwing until you get where you want to go.
I see that. And so that's how success is like darts. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for singing on the show. Any final words from you? And yeah,
I think like I've just finished off that nicely with a little song that I was not expecting to do. So I don't think I have any final words. Maybe just that this is probably the most fun podcast that I've done, and I don't think any others will be able to compare.
thank you very much for that. So everybody, make sure you connect with Lauren. Obviously, she knows what she's talking about when it comes to property investing. If you have questions about that, make sure you reach out to her. And until next time, today is the day to lock your peak potential. She's Lauren. I'm Fong. See you next time.